Hello, hello. Welcome to this week's show of This, Not That, your 15-minute show of what to do with your marketing and what not to do with me, Elisa Connor, and my co-host, Anka Herman. Good morning, Anka.
Hello, lovely to be here,
I
as
guess it's
always.
not morning there. It's
No,
afternoon. Well,
that's all right.
hello, good day. Let's just stick with good day. There we go. This week, we are talking about the 3 emails that you should set up immediately in your business in order to grow connections, build communication, and most importantly, start selling your stuff. So, we are going to dive right in because we want to make the best use of your time and also give you as much value as we can during this quick episode. So, the first one that came to mind for me is when you're writing your headlines. I was lucky enough to be asked to be in one of Anka's summits that she does, an audio summit, and I talked about headlines. And so I went and did a little bit of research before we jumped on this call just to see, which headlines perform the best. So when you're creating those headlines for your business and you're trying to stand out in the inbox, one of the things I found that works really, really well is to not only ask a question, and it can't be a yes or no question. It has to be like a question that they would need to think about and actually have a longer reply to, but also adding some personalization in there. And so if you can think about those headlines, like I had some kind of crazy headlines in there, like, I don't have one off the top of my head, but could you escape an escape room, Anka? Like it's just random things that you can tie together with your business. And so if you can come up with a fun, clever question that most people aren't asking and you can put their name in there, that's going to be a really great way to grab their attention. And so Anka, let's jump into tip number 2.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think just to sort of underline the importance of headlines, it's like, yeah, if that doesn't grab people's attention, they're not going to even read the email.
Right.
And that's the thing. And then you don't. Ultimately, I always say I want to be the person where I usually scan the sender list, right? And then I don't even care about the headline. So ultimately, you want to get there, right? But you have to get people's attention first. And so I think the second one that popped to mind for me was that first welcome email, that very first email you send to people. It's your prime opportunity to open up a conversation, to make an impression, to reassure people that they're in the right place, what they can expect, and set the tone for what's to come. And I mean, I sign up for lots of stuff, right? So, and I kind of see how many people don't make a lot of use of that email. It's just like, yeah, here's your thing, have a nice life, kind of thing, And it's such a waste of precious email real estate, because you always have to think when somebody signs up for something, like that is the moment that you have most of their attention. Like you never get that much attention back, and they might never read another email, but they usually read that first one.
Right.
So, and you want to encourage people to reply back to you, and to literally, make them not ignore your next email, right? So that's, I think, really pay attention to that first email. I think it's crucial.
Yeah, that first email, I agree. Like people do not make the most of it. And what I found, another thing that people can do if they don't want to do the reply all or they don't have the bandwidth to answer all of those is I've had really good luck with short surveys, like 3 questions. And asking the things that you would say, like hit reply and tell me like what your biggest struggle is with email marketing, for example. And those surveys are so powerfully valuable. And not only that, but then if you take the information you get from the survey and you start to create content around it, they feel listened to. Or if you can reply with a general, what most people have asked for, like there could be certain categories, like some of the ones that I have in there are specific around sales funnels, around email, and then also around your website. And so if you have resources created for those areas and then you tag those people that have responded to those survey questions, which is totally possible, then they're getting a specific resource in addition to the first one that is in answer to what they're struggling with. So that can be a little bit more in depth, but it also starts to build that connection because then you're delivering something to them that they have asked for without really asking, just by saying, yeah, my website's a hot mess and I don't know how to fix it. And then you send them like a 10-point checklist on how to get started with like getting their website going. They're going to be like, thank you. Now I feel like I can, at least get going in the right direction, or figure out who I need to talk to about going in the right direction and that sort of stuff.
And I think when you always have to think about the only question people are constantly asking when they're scrolling through, like, is this relevant and interesting to me? You know? So the more you can actually respond to what they're saying, the more that question will be yes, and the more likely they will be to open the next email, right? I always like there's this, this writer's saying, they always say, well, the only job of each phrase has only one job: to entice the reader to want to read the next one.
Yeah. Right.
And I think that applies also to your emails, right? The only job it has to entice the person to take the next step.
Exactly. And I always look at it like I'm a big reader, and I'm sure you are too. Most writers are readers. And I always think about like people that write books, and they like leave you in some way wanting to read the next book. And so it's the same concept when you're writing an email, is like, what little seed can you plant in there that gets them excited about the next email that's coming? And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, is that they just get into this mode of pushing their product or their service, and they don't plant the anticipation or the excitement for the next thing for them to tune into. And too much pushing means people are repelled, and they're not going to be wheeled in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that answering people's concerns, like responding to what people, and even if you're pushing, like even if you are, offering your services or your course or whatever you have, it's not just about, look, this is like kind of sign up here. This is like, speak to what concerns people have. What do people need to know in order to make a decision whether they want your thing or they don't? At the end of the day, it's all about giving them decision help, giving them the information they need so they can make an informed decision. Like if you look at it through that lens, all of a sudden it opens up a whole, wealth of opportunity, of possibilities of how you can come at that. And so you don't really need to kind of be pouncy or salesy or whatever,
right,
to actually get better results.
Which is so funny, because last week on my podcast, when I went through the 5 stages of the buyer's journey, and that was one of the things I talked about, was like, you don't want to jump into an email sales pitch for somebody who's just in the discovery stage, because they don't even know that they need you right now. They haven't even come to the conclusion that they need a product or service. And that's what I see so many people do, especially with their lead magnets. They get somebody on their email list, and then within 1 or 2 emails, it's just like getting those spammy, horrible LinkedIn messages from people that are like, hey, do you need a virtual assistant? Do you need somebody to do this? And it's like, no, please don't do it.
I got one the other day where it says like, would you allow me to send you a calendar link so we can discuss further how we go ahead? And I'm like, I don't even know who you are. Like, this is the first message I get from you. I'm gonna be joking, right?
Exactly. So we don't want to do that, folks. And the more clear you can get about where people are in your audience with their journey, the better it's going to be for you, or the easier it's going to be for you to deliver what they need to hear. And then the more likely that they're going to move forward and purchase from you. So that's really the goal of all of our marketing. It's not just email marketing, but all of our marketing is to just stay in front of them until they're ready to, move to the next stage of whatever their journey is. And I think people, they don't consider all of those different stages of where people are. And in the episode I did, I actually gave an example of me purchasing my new refrigerator, and like all the things that went right and all the things that went wrong. So anyway, so our third kind of fun twist to this episode is an email that most people don't think about sending. And that is when people are already into that buying stage, is that, and I'm sure everyone has had this experience, but they don't think about implementing it into their own business. And more often than not, when I'm working with clients, especially course creators, they won't send this email. And it's so powerful. And it's the abandoned cart email. And you have the opportunity to send it one time. Like you can only send one. And it's when somebody has whatever item it is, it could be a course, it could be coaching, it could be whatever, and they put it in the cart, but then they walk away and they don't buy it. And it's that follow-up email. And why it's so powerful is because, as we know, everybody gets really busy and they can be distracted by kids, work, home, phone, all the things. And then they never check out. But if we send them a little reminder, I can't remember exactly what the stat says, but it increases the likelihood that they'll purchase by like 70%. And so depending on what your business is or what you're selling, that can be a really powerful email. So I wanted to stick that in here as a little kind of surprise and something for you to think about how you could create a abandoned cart email for your business.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I mean, to be honest, I was like, oh, that's such a good point. Like I've got, I still have a website where I sell like digital sewing patterns, and I never even thought of that. Well, yeah, definitely.
Well, I love when we can learn from each other. Yay!
I know, and the other question that jumps to mind for me is like, how can we use that concept and apply it to service-based businesses where you don't have like a checkout kind of thing, right? But you can still see who actually clicked on your sales page for something. You can still know who went there, but didn't take whatever action there was to take. Right. Yeah. So you can still have a variation of that even, so I'm saying like, don't discard this tip because you don't have like a product-based business, so if somebody goes to your page and explains what on earth is an offer, well, they could also get a little email.
Yeah.
A bit of a nudge.
Exactly. And it's, we don't want to do it with overkill, but it's actually a great way for you to kind of say, hey, I knew you were over here. Hi, I see you. Hi, I see you.
Yeah.
Not in a stalker kind of way, but a helpful kind of way.
No, but it is funny. It's actually, I'm getting some ads in front of my face from a dog training, whose course I actually have bought. And he goes, well, I know you've watched this video. It is a little like, oh, Big Brother's watching you. But,
that's right.
But it works. Like it does kind of make you feel like, yeah, actually it does put it back at the forefront of your attention. And that's the whole point of it, right?
Right. And I think it makes people feel like, hey, somebody is paying attention to me. Because in such a busy world, it's easy to just talk at your customers versus to talk to your customers. And so it's very powerful when you can do that. Well, that's what we've got for you today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you, Anka, for being here. It's always a pleasure to share space and ideas with you. And we will be back next week for another live episode. And we are talking about nothing to say, nothing to sell. And this is where we dive into aligning your product suite and your messaging so that you can actually sell more stuff and not just go out there and try to sell it or have nothing to sell and try to market your business with nothing to sell. So we will see you next week. In the meantime, take care, be well, stay safe.